Everyone, welcome to the Leader's Edge, your path to personal and leadership growth. I'm your host, Steve Steele, alongside my co-host and partner in leadership, Ernie DeCumos. As certified speakers, coaches, and corporate facilitators, we're dedicated to bringing you powerful principles to fuel your leadership journey and personal growth. Now, whether you're an entrepreneur just starting out, a new leader taking the reins, or a seasoned pro looking to refine your skills, this show is for you. We'll be diving deep into personal growth strategies to help you strengthen your mindset and leadership abilities. But before we jump in, a huge shout out to all of our amazing listeners. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We wouldn't be here without your incredible support. Now, let's get down to business and help you unlock your full potential. Ernalita de Kumos, how are you doing today, my beautiful partner? Did you like that one? Did that work?
Yes, Mr. Steve Steele. I am doing great. Good morning, everyone. This is your co-host. Apparently, it's my full name today. Ernalita de Kumos. Ernie de Kumos. I'm doing great. I am actually excited for our guest today because this is not his first time on the show. We've had him before.
That's right.
Yes. But partner, first, how are you doing, Mr. James Steve Steele?
You threw it out there. I knew you were going to, but you didn't put the handsome in there. But I'll work with that.
I did not get a beautiful though.
Well, Ernie, I'm doing great. Today is an amazing day. The gentleman that we have on the show today, I have learned to love this man over the past couple of years. It's just been an amazing journey that I've watched him go on and learn from. He is amazing. So I want you to take just a minute and tell our audience a little bit about him.
Yes, I would love to remind them of who he is. We have greatness in the room. Our guest this morning helps professionals communicate with more clarity and confidence. Whether he is keynoting, conducting interactive workshops, or coaching individuals to be more effective on camera and stage. He is committed to bringing you to your next level of best. His 30 years of experience as a master communicator and facilitator in companies of all sizes has caused him to become one of the most sought-after speakers in his field. He customizes every program to meet the specific needs of your team and industry. Everyone, please help me in welcoming Mr. David Goad to the green room.
Hey, David. So good to have you, brother. Glad you're here.
Why, thank you so much. And I didn't get a beautiful or handsome, but it's okay.
Okay.
My self-esteem is intact. It's all good.
Well,
you started.
I know, but we got the amazing part in there, right? That was pretty
good. And greatness. we put greatness too.
Greatness too, yes. Well, that's certainly true. David, you are an amazing and really great speaker. And today we're going to be accomplishing something, or actually talking about something, and hopefully accomplish a few things that is going to talk about the art and the power of storytelling today. Now, we know that this is a powerful part about speaking, and it's really something that's important to those who are going to be speakers, those who give presentations, those who give any kind of talk. Storytelling is huge. But before we get into it, David, I want you to kind of share with us a little bit about yourself, a little about your journey, a little about what you do, and share with the audience of just who David Goad really is.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. I love being back on your show. You two are great hosts. And today is about storytelling. You just asked me to tell you a story. There's really 3 types of stories we're going to cover today. And so my story is going to unfold throughout those 3. I'm going to repeat the elevator pitch, though, so everybody gets it. This is a story you all need to be able to tell, whether you're an executive, an entrepreneur, director of a nonprofit. Your elevator pitch matters a lot. So this is mine. Hi, my name is David Goad. I help executives and entrepreneurs to speak with more clarity and confidence. And unlike many other coaches, I specialize in both on-camera and on-stage speaking. If you work with me, you can expect to find a whole new level of competence and confidence in your public speaking. Would you like to schedule a 30-minute coffee chat and assess whether I can help you do that?
Beautiful. Where do I schedule? That's beautiful.
Yeah, where do we do that? That's beautiful. That's beautiful, David.
And I wanted to start with that because if we're going to talk about stories today, I know you probably have lots of questions for me. we can dive right into it, but I narrowed it down. There's so much to share, but I got 3 key stories to talk about today.
Awesome. Let's dive in. Let's figure it out. Where are we going to go first?
Well, let's start with that elevator pitch. And first I'll define story. People hear the word storytelling in business. They're like, oh, my 30-minute presentation is my story. Okay, that may be true, but I like to define story more as like an individual, smaller building block, right? Point of proof, something that you're going to include as evidence that'll help your audience believe you and take action on what you want them to take action on.
So it gives you credibility.
Yeah, exactly. Well, credibility, relevance, time. Those are the 3 things they're asking themselves. You know this. Steve, Ernie,
Yes.
you start doing your pitch to someone. Let's say you're actually in an elevator doing an elevator, and they ask you that question. So, what do you do? Now, immediately before you open your mouth, they're asking themselves 3 questions: Are you relevant? Are you credible? Right? Do I believe you? And how long is this going to take?
Yeah.
Those are 3 disqualifiers that they're thinking about already. So whatever
Already.
Now,
I don't even know you.
right, they're trying to say, is this relevant? Meaning, is this really worth my time? Or would it be worth my time to talk to you longer or at another time? Right there, that's that relevance. Like, what you do something in my realm of need?
What's in it for them?
Exactly. And if it's not in it for them, then there's no further conversation. Right.
Right.
And the second one, that credibility, they're asking, do I believe you? And that's where they're watching your body language, listening to your voice, what kind of look you have on your face, those things. Like, is this consistent with what I'm hearing right now? And you can be disqualified if it's not consistent.
Right.
And that last one, the time element, you got to keep it short. I was actually in an elevator talking to someone at a conference, and I asked him, hey, so what do you do? And he kept talking and talking and talking, and the elevator door opened, and I was like starting to scoot out, like, yeah, okay. Kept talking. He said, hey, and one more thing. You have to know when to stop.
Right.
So you can get a response from someone. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, absolutely. Beautiful. That is amazing.
An elevator pitch, and I won't go into deep detail on it today, but you heard mine. I just want to point out and highlight one element of an elevator pitch that people don't always think to include. And that, because you could talk about what you do, or who.
Yes.
And
what makes you different from the rest. I caught that.
Thank you, Ernie. You picked up on it. Yeah, it's like, and the key opening phrase there is, unlike others, a blank. So I want everyone in the audience today to think about that in the short pitch you give to people. You can't just say, this is what I do and this is the problem I solve, because they're trying to put you in a bucket. Are you relevant? Are you special? And are you worth another conversation?
Yeah, because that seems to be the hook. There's got to be some kind of small little hook in there in that conversation or in that elevator pitch that gets people to say, wait a minute, maybe I need to this guy. Maybe I need to spend some time with him. I know in times when I've had that, when people have been giving me that conversation, I'll hear something that they say that makes, wow, that sounds very interesting to me. And I want to have a further conversation about it.
Yeah, see, you hit on it there, Steve. You're intrigued. You're intrigued enough to hear more. So think about your elevator pitch as the movie trailer, not the movie.
Right.
The guy in the elevator was in the whole movie, and I'm like, dude, I don't have time for this. Yeah. We're at the 12th floor. I need to get out. So, but if you intrigue them enough, they'll be like, I'll schedule a little Zoom coffee chat with you later. Or here's my card. And that's all you want to earn is another conversation. You're not selling anything with an elevator pitch.
Right.
Really to get their attention and earn that next conversation.
That is powerful. Thank you for that. So just to reiterate 3 things that we need to add on the elevator pitch, which is what you do, right? What was the other one? The third one I got.
Yeah, what you do, for who,
and then
how are you different?
How
And,
Right.
and what's that CTA? The call to action is what's the next step? Where can I go to learn more? And here's the other thing that happens. An elevator pitch is hopefully not the end of the conversation. It's a conversation starter.
Right.
And I will often pause right in the middle of my elevator pitch. If they do a weird face, like, well, wait, what does that mean? I'll pause for a second and say, is that relevant for you? Like, just get the conversation rolling, because whatever they say after your pitch will determine how much interest you think they have, right?
Okay. Let's practice it.
All right.
So Ernie, you get to do it.
I'm being
Ernie,
okay.
yeah, I'll do a quick little role play for you. Okay, so we just met in an elevator, and somebody else told me I needed to talk to you. Okay, all right, Ernie. My buddy said that I really need to connect with you. So you just real briefly tell me, what do you do?
Okay, so my name is Ernie Kumos. I help professionals and regular individuals to gain confidence in their day-to-day and professional life. I have not added the what makes me different.
Okay, well, let's dig into it.
Okay.
Why would I consider you over two other people just like you if I was going to hire you to help me with that? What is something that you excel at, or something that, what's your claim to fame?
Mine would be the always thing that the one thing that I always think of is because I did not have the confidence myself, and that was my drive to learn about confidence. And since I know that it's not always available to everyone, I want to make sure that it is available for them. So how can I incorporate that on my elevators?
Nice. Okay, so you're now getting into the founder story, which we're going to do a little bit later. That's a defining moment for you. So let's circle back to that later. But in your elevator pitch, if you have a track record of helping people to become more confident, just you do a short version of that. Yeah, I specialize in people who are fearful, anxious, or allowing their fear of speaking to prevent them from achieving their goals.
Oh, I like that.
Woo! Now,
I like that. Fear, anxious, I like that.
And if the other person in the elevator says, oh, yeah, I'm anxious, or, I have somebody on my team that's really fearful and it's hurting her career.
Yes.
That's the opening then for you to become a problem solver for that person or someone that they know.
You know what I like about that verbiage? It's relatable. It's very relatable to people. It's not highfalutin words in your elevator pitch, but it's relatability. Fear, anxious, anxiety, or anxious. Those are amazing words to use.
Yeah, and Steve, when you identify a problem right up front, like the first thing out of your mouth, if your audience, the person you're talking to, agrees with that problem, only then are they interested in hearing a solution. Like I'll often start with that too and do a little head nod, like, is that true for you? Before I even get the rest of the pitch. And I usually throw out something like, for example, executives are often frustrated by the effort it takes to pull together a keynote speech. Do you do keynote speaking? See how that's a little check. That's a little check in. They say, oh yeah, I got to do that. Now I already knew the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So they say yes. I got one yes. And the next is, well, I provide a solution for designing keynote addresses that takes some of the burden off of you of making it compelling and concise. Now, I'm intrigued. Yes, burden. Relieve my burden, please, David.
Yes.
And the why me would be, I have experience not only as a 30-year executive in Silicon Valley, I'm a writer and a stand-up comedian. So if you want to include humor, you're man. Right? Now I'm like, that's a little different. Or if you're going to be speaking on camera, I specialize with my video production expertise in helping you be your absolute best on camera, which is different than stage. There's you. And then the value part, if they're still listening, right? They're sort of nodding their head, like feel like they're trying to race out of the elevator. I say, so if you work with me, you can expect us to spend a few hours online in a Zoom, and I can also come in person, but you are going to see at least 3 or 4 major improvements in things that were formerly distractions for your audience. Would that be worth another conversation?
Wow, yeah, that's awesome.
Well, value part there, if you have the time and they're tracking with you, that value, you're almost making a promise. It's a promise you're going to keep later. And they start to think, oh, this person not only sounds credible, it's definitely relevant. I think he delivers on what I think he may deliver on what he's promising, right? You start instilling in them what they could expect if they take that.
David, let me ask you a question. So let's say you have an elevator speech and you're giving it, and someone says the first thing they pop off says, "Well, how much do you cost?" How do you handle that?
Don't you just love that question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, if somebody comes right out and they want to know, it's a good sign.
Yeah.
If they're serious enough about hiring you, I want to know. Like that's a qualifying question. And you can defer it to the rest of the conversation, which is what I usually do. It's like, before I just start throwing prices out, why don't we have a conversation to really assess what your needs are, and then I'll design a package that works the best for you. People usually they accept that answer because I don't just have a per hour fee. Like I want to understand your problem before I propose a solution package. So that's one nice way to just defer that and earn another conversation. But if they're insistent on, like, no, what's your rate for keynote speaking for a conference? Then I'll just, it's $5,000. And then I'll just pause and wait for their reaction. Like, if they freak out, or like, oh yeah, that's in my budget. Like, if they're insistent on that number, maybe they're comparing me to someone else they were about to hire. There was, oh, this guy sounds good, and he's only this much, and I was going to pay more for this one.
Yes.
Yeah, because $5,000 isn't really all that much for a keynote. I mean, it's kind of on the low side, really.
Depends on the size of the audience, of course.
Yeah, it's true.
It depends on the size of the audience. Another thing that I noticed on your pitch, David, is you are educating the listener on that conversation, because you said, unlike others, I also specialize on stage and on camera, not realizing that there's difference between the two. So I love that.
Yeah, and I might even ask, you're doing on camera presentations as well, right? I know the answer. Everybody is, right? The whole world went on camera during the pandemic, and you can't ignore that skill set. You have to be good in both environments. So I'm asking questions I already know the answer to, just like a good attorney in a court of law. You've seen these courtroom dramas.
I already know the answer to it.
But they ask it out loud, so it's on the record, right?
Yes.
Well, and you said, yes, that you had a fear of speaking. How is that affecting your career? Is it slowing you down? This is the follow-up conversation, because you got a little bit from them during the pitch.
Yep.
Yes. That is amazing content, David. And I just learned something new today. We will take a quick break. We just talked about one factor or one pitch that David is very passionate about, which is the elevator pitch. When we return, we will talk about 2 more that David will be teaching us. We will be right back to the Leader's Edge.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Leader's Edge. I'm Steve Steele with my co-host Ernie DeCumos and our special guest today, David Goad. Wow, great segment, David. I loved it. Talking about the different things in the elevator pitch and how that all works and how that comes together. But we got some other areas of your storytelling to talk about, and I think we're going to dive into something a little bit more different, what you call a founder story. What does that mean?
Actually, Steve, let's do the case study first. Then we'll come back to founder story.
Okay.
Because this is now assuming I told my elevator pitch, I earned another conversation. And this next question is likely to come up in that next conversation where you're starting to give them more detail about what you do and how you do it. And you'll hear that something like, so who else have you helped? What they're really asking you is who else like me have you helped? That's a question that's qualifying. Are you in the right bucket? Do you know my industry? Do you know people and companies of the same size that mine is, right? They're looking for relevance, right? If you're a big company person and I'm just a little startup company, it's like, oh, he helps large companies. That's not relevant to me.
Right.
So asking you for an example of some other client you've helped. And hopefully you have a bunch of these stories already ready. You've worked on, say, 4 or 5 case studies that meet the key demographics or markets that you serve. Right. So I'm talking to a small business person. I want to tell a small business case study about a customer who loves me. They got great results, right? So this is the type of story you need to be ready for, and having it out loud, verbally, telling it, also in writing. So I did one of my roles when I worked in Silicon Valley was on the voice of a customer team for a major company. I'm going to give the names. And they would always write their customer testimonials or customer case studies about them, right? They're like, we helped this customer overcome this problem, and we were responsible for them getting, it's always this me. But the best case study is the one that makes your customer the hero. Right?
Love
so
that.
The principle to follow is you're not the hero of the story. You're not Skywalker. You are Yoda. Right?
Yes.
Yoda comes in, gives Luke the lightsaber and teaches him how to use the Force, and then Luke saves the universe. Yoda doesn't save the universe. So think about yourself in becoming that enabling role. You're a guru, a helper, an advisor, a guide on the side that's helping your customer. And when you tell your customer case study that way, the person who's now interviewing you will think, oh, wow, he's going to make me a hero.
Wow, yeah.
So
good.
There's 4 parts of this story. And so that I just want to give that principle first, because that's a lot of companies miss that. They make themselves the hero, and you're not. 4 parts of a great customer case study. And I'm telling you, you can do this in 60 seconds or less, maybe 90 seconds or less. These are not long, drawn out stories. They want the essential facts, but delivered in a way that sounds credible. So here's the 4 parts to a great case study: the context, the challenge, the choice, and the result. And this follows with any of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey and other storytelling concepts and techniques you may have heard. But those are the 4 parts that are essential to it. So I'll give you a real quick version of that. The context is, who are we talking about? What industry are they in? Right? It's an establishing shot of the movie. Like, where are we? Who are we talking about? The challenge is, what is that main character facing? What's the problem? What's the trouble? What are they struggling with? That's the challenge. And then the choice is where you came in, right, as Yoda, and helped the Skywalker make a choice and do things differently. And that's a moment of truth kind of moment in the story. And then the 4th part is the result. So what happened? What was transformed? How much money was made? How much money was saved? How much time or grief was eliminated? So context, challenge, choice, and result. So let's Ernie, I'm going to come back to you. I love the way you tell your little stories, and I'll put Steve on the spot for the next one. Let's have Tell me about
Great.
tell me about a customer. I'll ask you the question just like if you were selling me, I'm hiring you, and then we'll make the story even better. So, Steve, you listen for details. We're going to give Ernie some advice on how to make her story even better. All right, Ernie. So I'm hearing what you're saying. Is there anybody else like me that you've helped?
Definitely. So one of the things that I do for my audience is also conducting workshops and seminars, right? Where I add value and talk about mindset and confidence. I have one of my dear audience who would always come to the events that I hold. And she came to me stating she just graduated college and she's looking into applying for a job at this huge company. But the challenge is she's not going to get hired because she's fairly new and does not have experience. The message that I gave her was, instead of focusing on the thing that will not happen, what if we focus on something that you would like to happen? And I left it at that. A week later, she came back and said, Ernie, I got the job. And that's because I focused on one thing that I wanted to happen, which is getting the job. How's that?
Love it.
Woo-hoo!
Beautiful,
Round of
Ernst.
applause.
That's great. That's
You
great.
listening at home, I am clapping because that had all four parts, Ernie. I heard the context. You have this young person who just graduated, doesn't have enough experience, but trying to get a job. Challenge was she was focusing on, she couldn't get out of that analysis paralysis of I'm not qualified. But the choice was made when you came in and advised her, hey, instead of focusing on that, focus on this. And the result was, hey, I got the job. Right? Yes. Great. All four pieces. So, Steve, what would you add to the story to make it even better? And then I'll add some of my feedback.
What would I add to the story?
What would you, just advice for Ernie on how to make that little customer story even better?
Gosh, it was really, really good, Ernst. I think that what I really liked about it was the choice that she made and how you really went into the choice and how you taught her what the choice was. I think maybe spend a little bit more time there, figuring out, could we maybe a different perspective of that, perhaps. I don't know, but I really like that part a lot because that's really when she made the choice, that ended up being the result. So I really like that.
Yeah.
Right. And Steve, I'll add to what you said there. So Ernie, here's my add-on is in that moment of truth, the choice where she decided, instead of telling it as facts, do it as a dialogue. And then I said to her, what if you didn't focus on this and instead you focused on that? And she said, well, Ernie, I never thought of that before. See, you just did two voices there instead of saying, and then I instructed her to not focus on this and focus on that. No, you did a dialogue that reveals that moment. And whenever you use dialogue in a story, it's really the heart of a story because your audience is then transported into a scene that they are picturing. There's a movie in their head, and that adds to your credibility when they can visualize what's happening.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
dialogue at the moment of truth is one technique. Other thing I would add to your story there, Ernie, is a little more sensory detail. Right? You said young woman or girl. I can't remember how you described it, but is there anything else you could add about her or where this took place, or even give us her name? Like just personalize it. Just use her first name, right? Her name was Melinda. I had this one client, Melinda, like right away, I'm like, oh, it's a human being. She has a name, right? And she was young. She was into cycling and fitness. I don't know. So just something that gives me, now I'm picturing her riding a bike. Or, like I told a story once about an IT director that I helped. And all I would say is like, she was an industry veteran of over 30 years in Silicon Valley. Does that give you a picture, right? You're probably guessing, okay, she may have a little gray hair, probably has those little glasses, that they wear, and I don't know, pocket protector.
Yeah.
No offense, IT people, but there is a look. So if you give a few of those kind of detail, I'm going to get in trouble now. If you give some of those details, your audience, it's easy for them to relate to the character. because they're visualizing the character and they see themselves in your character. That's the moment when the case study becomes a great selling tool, is when they see themselves visualizing a solution to a problem that they have. Make sense?
Yes, love it.
I love that.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Good job.
So
That's
we're
awesome.
not really radio show hosts today. We are learning today.
Yes, we are. We are learning today.
I do conduct workshops where I take groups of 10 to 12 and we come up with the stories in the workshops.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
And I coach them individually to really refine, and dive deeper on it. But as a group, it's fun to do this exercise because you get feedback from a focus group of your peers.
Yes. Okay. My turn.
Oh, we're doing yours already? Oh, do you have your own?
Well, let's dive into the founder story, because we mentioned that earlier. And that's one that many people don't have. Like, a lot of people have an elevator pitch. It's required for sales. The case study, okay, they have it, but it's not really good, like we just made those a moment ago. The founder story is an answer to a different question. This is, you've earned that conversation. You've talked about how you do what you do. They're thinking about hiring you. And they may ask a story like, so how long have you been doing this? Or why are you the best person for this? And that's more of a passion question, isn't it? So I say, has Steve been doing this for a while? Because I don't want to hire somebody that just got started. Right? And if they know you're enthusiastic and passionate about what you do, that's a qualifier. They may hire you over the other one who was a little bit boring, or the other one who looks like this is just some kind of side hustle. It's not their full-time gig, right? Usually, you do it too, right? When you're thinking about hiring someone, how committed are they? So when you tell a founder's story, reveals your passion. It's not just saying, I am passionate about helping people. It's actually telling a story that reveals how passionate you are about helping people.
Yes.
Right. So this is one that's a little deeper dive conversation. This is the thing you should have written in your LinkedIn profile and your website, right? There's a version of this story like, hey, what's this person all about? Because I think it was Simon Sinek, the really famous TEDx speaker.
Yes.
He says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do
it. Yep.
Right? So this is that little why story. So here are some of the key elements. I'm giving you a template for each one of these. By the way, anybody in your audience who wants to reach out to me, linkedin.com/in/David Goad, connect to me, send me a message, and I will give you all of these templates that we've been talking about today.
Yes.
So the founder story has what I call the origin moment. Do you remember the Spider-Man movie? Or anybody who's a Spider-Man comic book fan out there? What was Spider-Man's origin moment? Steve? How did Spider-Man how did Spider-Man get his powers? Do you know the lore around that?
Ernie? Spider? He got bit by a spider?
Bit by a spider.
Bit by a radioactive spider in a lab, and got the powers of a spider, ability to cling to walls and shoot webs and super strength.
Yes.
But that is not actually Spider-Man's origin moment. That was the case from getting his powers. The moment was later. He's strutting around town. He's trying to make money with all this newfound strength, and he's at a fighting, boxing thing where he was making money. And he's walking down the hall, and a criminal runs by him, robs the guy he was working for. Turns around and runs away, and the guy's like, "Hey, stop that guy!" And Spider-Man's like, "I'm gonna stop this guy. I'm on my own program here." And then later, he walks by a scene on the street where Spider-Man's, Peter Parker's Uncle Ben, got shot by the same robber, right? And Uncle Ben dies in his arms. That's the origin moment for Spider-Man, because that's his defining moment. He decides he's going to fight crime after that. He felt guilty, and this guy...
With great power comes great
responsibility.
Thank you. You completed the story. So, my question now to everybody listening today, do you have a moment like that? Maybe not as dramatic. Maybe you don't have the powers of a spider. But when did you decide to do what you do? What was the defining moment, the origin moment? And I'll share real quickly. Tony Robbins, some of you have heard of him. He has a charity that feeds millions of people now, food for people who have food insecurity. Mm-hmm. He has a defining moment founder story about that, where he was a kid and his parents were poor and they weren't going to have anything to eat for Thanksgiving. And someone came to the door, knocked on the door, and had a big box of food. And his father was too proud to take it. And the guy said, no, don't let your ego get in the way of your family having food. And they took the food in. And Tony's defining moment was, wow, look at the kindness of strangers. I'm going to do that too.
Yeah.
And it started with one family, 2 families, 4 families, and it grew and grew and grew. So that's the founder story of that. And why is that passionate? I saw you both nodding and shaking your head. You know, we can see each other and say, ooh, that's powerful. You visualized it, didn't you?
Yes. And it got a little teary too, because you can relate to that.
Yeah.
Right. So
Mel Robbins, here's another Robbins. She's another speaker with
yes.
The 5-second rule, how to overcome procrastination.
Oh, yeah.
And
love it.
Her founder story is she's laying in bed and keeps hitting the snooze on the alarm. And I don't want to get up and do all this stuff. But one day it just came to her. Just, that's it. She had seen a rocket launch or something. I'm just going to count down and jump out of bed. And she did it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom, sprang out of bed and suddenly had this newfound energy. And later she discovered that there's some brain science behind that, right? Interrupting the lobe that makes
interruption
choice versus the other, which was stopping her. And she interrupted a habit loop. And now teaches everyone today on how to get more out of their lives and overcome the barriers of procrastination with the 5-second rule, right? So founder story.
I love that, David. Definitely mind-boggling to me, because it's something that we have not used before, but at the same time very interesting, right? We will have to take a quick break though. We're gonna do a cliffhanger today. We will have to take a quick break. We just talked about the customer testimonial where I was tested again, but learned a ton. When we return, we will pick on Mr. Steve Steele and talk more about the founder story. We will be right back to the Leader's Edge.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Leader's Edge. I'm Steve Steele with my co-host Ernie DeCumos and our special guest today, David Goad. Wow, that second segment was beautiful, awesome. Talked about the case study, customer testimonial, and we have Ernie as the guinea pig again. I loved that part. It was awesome. David, you're just brilliant. It's brilliant. But we got this third segment now. We're going to get into the founder story a little bit more. You talked a little bit about that in the last segment, but let's go a little bit further.
Yeah, and Ernie was talking earlier about why she was so passionate about it. And that's really what this founder story is all about. Again, this is in your follow-up conversation, elevator pitch, they're qualifying you, you list customers you've worked with, you're like, okay, that kind of relates to me. Now I'm going to see how committed this person is if I hire them. So they ask a question like, so how long have you been doing this? Right? See, it sounds like an experience question, but it's really like,
Yeah.
why
Why you do it?
So I'm going to give you 5 elements of the founder story. And then, Steve, you're getting on the spot because we burned Ernie out already with 2 on the spot. So here are the 5 parts. The first is that origin moment. I mentioned like Tony Robbins, knock on the door, food from a stranger. Mel Robbins, she woke up and this thing came to her. She tried it and it worked. It was like, wow, there's something to this. So what is your origin moment, Steve? I'm going to ask you this in a moment. And then after you give me that defining moment, that's when you set out to solve the problem, right? So after that moment, that's when I knew blank, right? That's when I knew I was destined to help people, blah, 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 blah. The third part of it is current success, right? So today I am helping X number of people through this kind of problem. We grew really fast. I'm helped by these other people. It's kind of like current state, right? You set out before to do it. Now you're doing it. And on this kind of scale. The fourth part is there a mission or principle that guides you now? So if you had to summarize why you do what you do, I follow the principle that anyone can learn to tell jokes on stage. That'd be an example of, that's a principle. I believe there is no excuse. Anyone can do it. That's kind of a guiding principle. And then the last element, right? So you've got origin moment. You set out to solve a problem, current success and growth, the principle that guides you now, and then finish it off with why you love this work. And that can start with, I just love to see blank. I just love to see lives transformed. I just love to see people spend more time with their kids. I just love to, whatever that ultimate benefit of them hiring you and what that produces. Did you get all 5 of those, Steve?
I think so. Yeah, the last one's the benefit. Is that what you said?
It's kind of like why you love this work. Just cap it off.
Why?
And that's an enthusiasm statement. Like, and I just love doing this. And if you hire me, I'm going to give you 100%. It's like the ending that just demonstrates, again, you're revealing your passion, not just saying I'm passionate. You're revealing the passion in the story you tell. And let's hear it from you, Steve. Give us a shot. Ernie, you're going to give Steve some feedback on his founder story. If you're ready.
Well, coach me. I may need your coaching through it, but yes, I'll try.
That's what we're here
David.
for. Yes.
Yeah, David. When I graduated from high school and went to college, my parents really wanted me to go to aviation school. But my father was in the military. He's in the military in the Air Force for 20 years. And that's one of the things they really wanted me to do. I loved aviation. I was around it all of my young life. But when I came back my first semester, I went to my parents and I said, Dad, Mom, I really don't want to do that. I really want to go into ministry. And my mom started to cry. My dad was like, so they went away and they left me in the living room and they went away and they began to talk. You know how parents do, they go in the kitchen and talk and like, okay, so then they come out and I'm like, oh, I'm freaking out here. It's kind of crazy, but I'm freaking out. And he told me, he said, son, he said this, he said, I didn't spend 20 years in military fighting for this freedom of this country for you not to have the choice to do what you want to do in life. He said, I only ask one thing of you. You reach and jump as high as you can and I will forever be your net. And I thought, oh, that gave me the freedom. That opened up the whole new life for me. Well, I was in ministry for 20 years, but then as I felt a transition of pulling on my heart to really teach leadership principles, personal growth principles, businesses. And so I made that transition and I began to, what I really wanted to do was to add value to people. So my mission became, we are people of value that adds value to people. And when I'm able to do that, when I'm able to teach that, when I'm able to sit in front of a group of people and watch the light bulb come on and know that their life is changing by simple things that we teach, the principles, it jazzes me. It lights me up. It is why I do what I do, because of the life changing I see in people's lives.
Woo! Round of applause for Steve. It's passionate founder story. All right, so much good stuff in there. I'm just going to check with Ernie. Anything obvious that you would add to that or edit or change that might make it better for you?
I think what would be beneficial is not add the aviation story, because you change your passion from ministry and then all of a sudden you switch to teaching leadership. So the aviation story did not add up to the whole story, if that makes any sense.
All right, so you weren't following along. There wasn't maybe enough detail in the story, or that's maybe an unnecessary detail in the story. And this is a great, this is very subjective, Steve. All of this is like, it's an art, not a science.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Editing is so hard because most of the stories we tell about our lives are told the same way every time, right? With then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. When you edit, just like when they edit a novel and create a movie, a lot of the people who read the novel are disappointed, like, hey, you left out the whole chapter on so-and-so. Well, it's because the movie is an hour and 45 minutes long, and we didn't want to have a 4-hour movie. So we had to cut things out and cut to the essential details. So I was kind of listening for the same thing. I liked where you were going. Like, your parents wanted one thing, but you wanted something else. So there was this critical moment where you told them that, right? That is the key scene. You did a great job of the emotion. My mom started to cry. Oh, I love that. I say your mom, I pictured you all around a kitchen table and your mom just kind of had her hand in her face and crying. and give your reaction to that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I made my mom cry. See, that's internal dialogue. That's you even revealing your thought in that moment, which adds to the emotion of the story and your angst about this decision. So the first thing you said, the first detail I heard was about I was going to go to college, and then my dad wanted to be an aviator. Shorten all of that. Just say, my parents wanted me to be a pilot. I didn't want to be a pilot.
Yeah.
See, that's like, that's cutting to the chase, as they say in movie scripts. Like, let's get right to the point of what's going on here, because you don't want to go on and on with the story. You want it to be essential elements. I love the scene and the dialogue you had with your parents. And your dad said, and when your dad says that line, it's just like a little delivery note. Take your time with that. Become your father in that moment and speak it as if he's thinking of it and speaking from his heart in the moment. So it wouldn't be sound like a scripted line. It would sound like, son, I didn't go in the military and fight for our freedoms so that I wouldn't give you the chance to make the choice that you want to make.
Right.
You have that little bit of hesitation, and you make the face your dad would have made. So whoever's hearing you tell the story, they're going to be like, wow, that really happened. Because he was specific, he had dialogue, he recreated the emotion from the scene, and your credibility goes way up, because it's like, now it sounds real. And that's one thing that's missing sometimes from a story. It's just, I call them sensory details, right? Even if you said, we were sitting around kitchen table, I was staring down at the linoleum floor, ashamed.
Mhm.
Now you have table, room, linoleum, probably avocado green refrigerator, like other stuff. You fill in the other details, but you've given your audience a start. You got that ball rolling on their imagination.
Mhm.
One other thing for your story, Steve, you said, and then I did 20 years in the ministry. And I was like, wait, whoa. That was too quick, right? I 20 years in the ministry, which was very fulfilling, but didn't include that leadership component that I wanted to do before. Right. So
Yeah.
a little bit more on that part, just so I understand why you're sharing that detail. Why is
Yeah. Love it.
it? Because it taught you something. Is that helpful?
Beautiful. Yes. Thank you,
I
David.
love it.
Awesome.
Wow, this is
But-
great content.
It's
David.
not easy to write the founder story, and it's good to try it on people. Try it on
Yes,
get a
absolutely.
focus group of your friends. Hey, what do you think of this? Is it too long? Is it too short? Do you believe it? And just these things get improved upon over time when you
Mhm.
ask for help and
Wow,
feedback from friends.
for sure. We'll come to you definitely, David, to refine the founder story. Thank you, David, for such a valuable lesson today. I am taking notes as we are hosting this
Mhm.
radio show. I'm sure our listeners are wondering, what are you currently working on and how can people reach out to you?
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Ernie. I do keynote speeches, I do workshops, and I do individual coaching. And as a speaker, I'm focusing on building trust. So all the things around that tie into speaking on stage and on camera. And specifically, what are the red flags that cause an audience not to trust you? And what are the green flags that say, "Ooh, I'm going to do what you said. I believe you." And that's what we all want when we do public speaking or presentations. It's for your audience
Absolutely.
to buy it and to take some kind of action that you want.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
you can find me
Beautiful.
on LinkedIn, search on David Goad, linkedin.com/in/David Goad. Connect to me there and send me a message. Hey, I heard you on the radio show. Send me the template. And that will start our
We'll do it.
conversation. I'll give you all 3 templates for these 3 stories and look forward to helping you if I can with pitching yourself.
Thank you, David.
Awesome.
Appreciate that.
Thank you so much, David. And to our listeners, also, if you have a product, service, or rebranding that you are launching in your company, we would love to help you promote it globally. Please contact our producer, Robert Ciolino, at robert.ciolino, CIOLINO, at voiceamerica.com for more information.
And Ernie, next week, a sneak peek on Thursday, we'll have a newly found friend, a trauma recovery coach, Holly Miller. Tune in next Thursday to Leader's Edge. And as always, David, thank you for amazing content today. We so much appreciate it.
Well, you both have amazing stories. Thank you for sharing them with me. And I just love being on your show.
Awesome.
Yes, thank you, David. And we wanted to say thank you to all of our listeners and friends, because without you, the Leader's Edge would not be possible. We are grateful to have you here and so excited to connect with you next time. But for now, bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.